All right, thank you, Hakeem. It's my pleasure to be here. My pleasure to be here with you, Mark. And what we're going to do today in the Fireside Chat is we're going to talk a little bit about how organizations and universities can build the next generation of analytics talent. And this is something we've been thinking about a little bit at Smith as we've been designing the MMA program, our new MMAI program, our exec ed programs. We have an MSc in analytics now and a PhD in analytics. But also we take a lot of input from organizations and what they want out of our graduates and what they need the graduates to learn. So let me just jump right into it. My first question for you, Mark, is how does advanced analytics and AI and all these new technologies change the way that the financial industry operates?
So first of all, I just wanted to thank the Queen's School, and I just want to send regrets. Michael ZERBS was the Fireside chatter here. He actually had some severe back pain, so he wasn't able to make it, but I just wanted to thank. And looking forward to our discussion. Now, about advanced analytics and how is it changing the financial services industry. I think there's four main changes taking place. One is through data. Second is how we view technology. The third, of course, is our processes we use and how advanced analytics impacts that. And then fourth is people. So first I'm going to talk about data, and I think today's sessions, there's been a lot of talk about data. There's no shortage. Data continues to proliferate. The bank has a lot of data assets. It's really about how we engineer or get the most value out of the data that we do have. And I think from a talent perspective, one of the really key areas, advancements in financial services, is the skill set around data engineering. So the ability to take large forms of data, unstructured data, complex data, and engineer that so that data scientists are not spending 80% of their time going through data, but engineering the data. So that's the first really big advancement in the data space. In the technology space, data is only as good as making really fast decisions. And in the banking world and in the digital era, it's about real-time instant credit decisions from a bank standpoint. And to be able to do real-time decisions is having nimble and flexible technologies that can interact with their customers in a digital way. Banks tend to have older, more legacy-based systems. So it's really advancing in terms of how we get much more nimble technology architecture that would be more resonant in the technology space. Third is process. We can have the greatest data or technology out there, but how are we solving and innovating quickly? And there was discussions earlier about how to be agile, how to work with an innovative mindset. I think the real advancements in this space is the bank has lots of different areas and could have silos of different departments. Is how are we grouping people together to solve problems quickly and agile? And then that really comes down to people. When I think about people, the advancements in this space, it's about translating, using technical know-how, but translating that into business problem solving.
Excellent. So yeah, I'll just use that as a plug for our programs in the MMA and MMAI. That's what we're trying to create, translators who understand some of the technical aspects and can do it themselves, and they can write programs in R and Python, and they could tell you the model fit of a regression, but they also know the business side and why they're doing what they're doing and when to use which model and how it all makes sense. What are some of the early lessons learned in talent acquisition and retention?
So I'm going to talk about two main things. People in this space, they really want to feel empowered, and they really want to feel like they're having an impact on the decisions being made. And the key learning for us is the empowerment of decisions is bringing people together. And typically the process could be a little bit more bureaucratic, following a lot of different rules, having a lot of different handoffs, and having groups that there's a process and time that takes. I think in terms of empowerment of decisions, having people work together and allow them to make more meaningful decisions and really coming more maybe on a weekly basis or whatever, engaging management to say, here's how we're designing it, here's the processes we're following. So I think that is a big learning of really empowering decision making. And I'd say the second is breaking down the barriers once again. I think people want to be solving problems. I think they want diversity of perspectives in a room. So within risk management, the area I work in, is how are we interfacing with our business teams, marketing teams, product teams, information technology teams. I think people that we're onboarding and acquiring, I think they want to get that richness of experience, the full banking experience, and not having a job where they're behind their keyboard in a cubicle, where it's kind of just you and the computer. It's really about opening it up and getting an experience, a wider, broader experience that you can meet different areas and really challenge each other and challenge perspectives. And I think that diversity of bringing people together is really what stimulates innovation and brings new ideas to how we typically look at problems.
Very interesting. Let me ask a follow-up on that. At Scotiabank, do you guys prefer a model where you get all your analytics talent into one center of excellence? Or do you prefer to have smaller, more distributed teams closer to the business units?
So you know what, we actually, and that's a question we ask ourselves quite often. I would say the answer is both. If you think about the different analytical areas, there's many. And a bank has tons of different departments. And at Scotiabank, you've got Canada, you've got Caribbean, Central America, all over Latin America, and globally. Each of those areas have their own analytical teams and talent. So I don't think you could centralize it all to have one COE, because really in these diverse markets and cultural nuances, to your point, you really need to be close to the customer. You have to be close to understanding the true business drivers, listening to the customer, and having those really tailored solutions. Mm-hmm. On the same note, I still think there's a large role for a more centralized function to really leverage. I think when we think of advancements in machine learning, in AI, in code of ethics, in setting standards, and setting consistency across our global network, I think the COE has a large role to play there. And I'd also say the COE, I think, has a great role to play in maybe solving not necessarily today's business problems, but what are the problems on the frontier in the next 2 to 3 years, right? So that's maybe when you're intimate with the customer, you're kind of solving what are the problems I need to solve for right now, because that's what's resonating and that's where your business priorities are. But a COE, I think, can take a step back and say, what are the next generation of problems that we can help solve for? And that becomes the next pipeline for the more decentralized teams to solve customer-facing problems.
Yeah, so it sounds kind of like the only way to win a Kaggle competition these days is to have a hybrid of ensemble models. So you guys are going to have a hybrid of ensemble analytics teams.
I think so, yeah.
Interesting. So what are your biggest challenges right now in analytics at Scotiabank?
So, what's really resonated with me today is there was the whole notion of pace. The pace is incredible. There's no shortage of ideas. A bank or any company, everyone wants to innovate. They want to invest in analytics. They want to do more with their data. They want to bring together better technologies to solve problems. But it's the pace of change that's occurring outside of our four walls. That's what's really the biggest challenge. And I think the best way to tackle that is outside of our industry, industries are going to be disrupted. We know that. That's really inevitable. I think to prepare for the disruption is how are we disrupting ourselves? If we can disrupt ourselves in terms of challenging the way we think, so bankers tend to think like bankers. I think it's how do we think differently from more of a startup mentality. So I think that's the biggest challenge is how do we change our mindset? How do we, in Scotiabank, we're 100 and some odd company that's been around for a long period of time. How do we acquire this startup and innovative mindset? Because when you're a startup, you're in survival mode, every day, bringing your solutions as fast as possible. we need to have that mindset as well in terms of solving problems quickly. And I think part of the way we do that is bring our competitors, the fintechs or the startups, bring them into our solutions. Get a sense of how they're moving their product services quickly, understand from them, and partner with them so they become more of a partner through the process.
Makes a lot of sense. How do you think your shareholders feel about moving from a traditional model to this more startup disruption type model?
I think ultimately, we're a company based on customers. Without customers, we have no business. And customers want solutions that are tailored to their needs. They want fast, real-time decisions. They want to work with a company they can trust and that is safeguarding their assets. So I think ultimately our shareholders would view we need to bring the best products and services to our customers. If we don't, the competition is going to give them differentiated offers in the marketplace. So I think analytics, I think data, technology, AI, and all the other new advancements allows us to better understand our customers and give them the types of offerings that they deserve. And ultimately, they will choose in the marketplace which vendor gives them the most trust and the most variety in terms of tailored solutions for them.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, that's a great answer. If I was a shareholder of Scotiabank, I'd buy it. So we're kind of talking about, the talent gap. Most companies want a data science team. They want managers. They want data engineers. They want product engineers. They want everything. But there's, at the moment, fewer jobs than there are, fewer jobs than there are candidates. What can other companies do, or what can companies in general do to bridge the gap, fill the holes, and attract the talent?
So, I think once again, it's really based on culture and environment. To attract these individuals, they have to want to work in what the type of business that you're doing. I think they want to work in an environment where they feel empowered, where they feel motivated, where they feel like they're making a meaningful change. So that's the first thing, is a mindset. And a lot of people can say, hey, this is the workplace I'm going to create for you. But it has to be real and it has to be tangible. And I think probably the best advice for other companies is, the advancements of analytics can't be a destination. It's really a journey. What I mean by that is it's continually learning, it's continually challenging the status quo, and it's continually innovating. A lot of times, we get caught up in the headlines of, we got to do blockchain, we got to do AI, we got to do this or that. But it has to be more of a mindset that these are things, the technology is always going to advance. You have to have the wherewithal to continue to innovate. And I think those companies that really push the envelope, not just today, but as we go forward, those will be the companies that attract the best talent.
Okay, one final question. What do you think is the best mix for a company like yours in terms of hiring new grads or versus educating your existing workforce in analytics and AI and blockchain and everything?
I mean, that's a really interesting question. I'm sure every company faces that in terms of acquiring talent, upskilling their own talent. I'd say once again, there is no, one answer that works. I'd say it's a combination of the two. But I would say, being a lifelong banker, I have a particular, bias towards hiring people with no bank background at all. And the reason being, to be innovative is challenging the way in which we think as bankers. And I find people with new perspectives that bring that diversity of thought across many different industries outside the bank is the best way to stimulate new ideas that we haven't thought of. So, I'd say the acquisition of talent, being bold and courageous to bring people from different disciplines, I think is important. In terms of upskilling, I think it comes down to attitude. I think those that are curious and creative to learn, certainly you can upskill. But I think you need to have that mindset. If you don't have the mindset, I think upskilling talent can be a significant challenge.
Right. So I think that's about the time we have. One last thing I want to say is, if you are interested in upskilling and you do have that curious mindset, then there are some programs coming out. I'm not going to say what they are. Check the back page of the program. But anyway, thank you very much, Mark. That was very interesting and great to hear your perspective. I think that's all the time we had. But yeah, I'd like to give Mark a round of applause.